Over the course of the last year, I've read many books, which is weird because I used to hate reading. I was too slow, and then as a result, I'd just get bored and chuck the book away. But I knew reading was so important, so I developed a process and a system for identifying what book is right for me, for speed reading, and for note taking. In this video, I'll be showing you all three of these so you can get the most out of your books in as little time as possible. The first step is finding the right book. I don't mean finding a book in general, I mean finding the specific book that applies to your current situation. We've all done it where we've went to a bookstore and we've bought the book with the best cover, just to go home and find out that none of the contents really solve a problem of our current situation. Then we just end up chucking it out or leaving it on the shelf. So first, search for books with intention. I would advise not going to any bookstores in general, but certainly not going in there with the mindset of, I might buy a book, and not knowing the topic or area that you want to study. So first, identify the topic that best applies to your life right now, and then search for the top 10 books, whether on YouTube or Google, search for the top 10 rated books in that area. And then on YouTube, search for a book summary. I tend to go for book summaries that are under 30 minutes because the goal here is not so much to learn, but rather to get a glimpse of what could come up in the book, so then you have an idea of if it is right for you and if it applies to your current situation. Book summaries are great because they can tell you the details of a book in as short as time as possible, but the issue with this is that it heavily relies on the subjective opinion of the YouTube channel or whoever made it, because it's them who decide what's valuable and what should be in the video. So this is why we are using the book summary, just to get an idea of what will come up in the book and whether it's right for us. Once you've decided that it's a good choice for you, then you've got a choice. You can rather buy on Kindle, audiobook, regular book, and there's so many different retailers. So what do you choose? Well, the best option is the easiest one for you, the one that you can stay as consistent with as possible. Personally, I like audiobooks because I drive a lot, so I can just multitask. But if I had the choice and I had the time at home, I would read a book and listen to the audiobook at the same time. That way you are getting the information in two different memory stores, the Visio Spatial Sketchpad and the phonological loop. I want to add that if you are going to buy a physical book, then I would advise you look on World of Books. They sell used books but at a great condition and you just save so much money. I've bought this book here, originally retailed at £11.19 and I bought that for £1. And it's in great condition, as you might be able to see, maybe? Great condition. Yeah, great condition. And if the book was shit, which it wasn't, but if it was, then at least I only spent £1 on it instead of £10 on a book that I didn't really like. Now is the reading process. Firstly, non-fiction books are not stories. You do not need to read every chapter from start to finish. I'd recommend going through the contents and picking 3 to 5 chapters that really apply to you in your life. And just doing that will save you so much time. And now onto my favourite part, speed reading. There are 2 parts to speed reading. First is what I call the 2-line method. This is where you draw a line about 1.5 words away from the edge of the page on both sides. This is because we do not actually use our peripheral vision when we're reading, which is kind of stupid because we waste so much time by looking at these words when our brains can identify what they are without directly looking at them. I know it sounds stupid, but trust me, if you try this, you will 3x your speed of reading. This is because you're not spending time looking at 45 of the words on a page, but you're still comprehending them. And this may not even seem a lot, but over the course of a 200-page book, you'll not be looking at 9,000 of the words but still comprehending them, and that's a lot of time. At the start, I thought this was quite difficult and I just didn't get the hang of it. But after 10, 20, 30 pages, I began to comprehend the words without looking at them, saving so much time, and then I gradually bring the lines in closer and closer until my eyes just couldn't recognise what the word was on the outside. But after a while, I just removed the lines so you don't damage the book or whatever, you can keep it in good condition. I still wasn't looking at the words on the outside but comprehending what they were, so saving so much time. The next aspect to speed reading is using a tracer. You can rather use your finger or a pen to go under the current word that you're on, just so you don't lose track of where you're at and then having to go back, because the worst thing is wasting time because you're too tired or bored and then having to just go up and down the page trying to find where you're at. Just by using the 2-line method and a tracer, this will 10x your speed of reading. Before going on to note taking, I have a newsletter that comes out every Monday that talks on subjects that I've learned throughout the week. And some of you are smart, so I think you'd like it. But if you're not sure, then you can always check out the newsletter archive on my website that shows any email that I've ever sent out. On to note taking. I used to make the mistake of reading a book and then forgetting the contents of it a month later. But I learned how to index. So this is where you write down the page number and something relevant to you that applied to that page next to it. So, for example, in Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, I've written a whole index, only writing pages that directly applied to me and got to me at that time of first reading. So in the future, I don't have to look for the whole book to find the specific chapters that might apply to me then. I can just look through this little index to find the specific pages that might apply to my current situation. If I'm going through a hard time, then I can look through the index and I can see, oh, on page 60 it says nothing happens to anyone that you can't endure. So I'm like, oh, that page is probably about being a warrior, being better, getting stronger. And then on each pass of the book, I will circle, star, or underline any page that got to me again, that I really liked the second time around. So quickly, we can see that page 29 is underlined and starred, page 37 is circled and underlined, 60 underlined, 61 underlined, etc. You get the point. So, what this does is the next time I go to read the book, I might avoid all of the other pages, even if they're in the index, and I might just look at all the ones that are underlined or starred, because I know that once upon a time in a certain pass, I really enjoyed them pages. I really found them valuable. We all make the mistake of reading a book and then having no behaviour change after, which is kind of a waste of time and waste of a book. So, I tend to write next to my index a box with the title Action. And in there, I will look through my favourite pages, most starred, underlined, circled, and I will just collect and write down all the actions that I could take. Maybe mental frameworks I can adopt or steps I can take to improve in the future. If you did make it this far, then I genuinely believe that you will enjoy the newsletter. So please give me feedback on that and just tell me how it goes.